You're listening to Let's Stay Together, a podcast about Fruits Basket by Natsuki Takaya. I'm Ellen.
And I'm Kayla.
And today we're discussing chapters 132 and 133. Throwback.
The last volume.
It's the last volume! There's only one more episode after this, and then our finale.
Oh
So I guess there's two, but there's
one
one
more episode before our last episode.
There's only one more episode where we talk about this chapter, I guess, and then we'll talk about the whole thing. It made sense to me in my head, okay? So yeah, send questions for that if you haven't done so already. This is my reminder.
Friendly reminder.
Yeah, we're friends, right?
It'll be less friendly next week.
Next week, we'll just be like, send your fucking questions. Are we gonna write a fucking episode without them? I mean,
just make up questions and be like, oh, good question, anonymous user.
Yeah.
A
listener has sent us a question. Well, whatever. I'm sure it'll be a good time regardless. Okay. So, how about we talk about 132 then?
All right.
We'll do our summary and the discussion, and then I guess talk about what's next. I don't even know if there's spoilers in this, but
spoilers. It's the end soon.
There's very few spoilers, but we'll have a what's next discussion at least after the music. Yeah. All right, chapter 132. At the beginning of chapter 132, Akito remembers asking Shigure as a child if he liked her, and she narrates, "He always seemed fine even when he was alone. For some reason that made me angry. I wanted to make him turn and look at me." Akito sits in a room wearing a full woman's kimono now, as opposed to what she was wearing last time. She remembers their conversation from the other day and finally opens the gift bag Shigure gave her to reveal another, what seems like a more fancy floral kimono. Later, the juunishi all gather at the main house. Some of the adults trickle in late. Ritsu apologizes for being one of those good-for-nothing adults, and Hiro's like, "I can't believe you're still dressing like a girl," and Shigure is nowhere to be found, so it's status quo in amongst the juunishi. Well, I guess they're no longer the juunishi because they're not cursed anymore, but whatever, you know.
Children being more mature than the adults.
Well, in the hall, a smiley Kyo and a kind of pouty Kagura greet each other with a yo. "No," she says and glomps onto him. And he's like, "What's wrong? What?" And she's like, "I can't do this. I just can't. Everything's making me so depressed." And the sound of a cell phone taking a photo that will surely come back to haunt someone catches Kyo's attention. "Now you're cheating? What an awful person," Momiji the paparazzo says. Momiji and Kagura leave, saying, "Just awful, awful," while Kyo is like, "Were you in cahoots?" Momiji looks back over his shoulder and teases, "Don't worry." For some reason, this in the Tokyo Pop it says, "my butt," which is so bizarre because it doesn't say that in the Japanese version. It just says something else. It just is like, no. That's why it's translated just slightly differently in the Yen press. But I was like, what is she trying to say? It's so weird.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be like,
"You're touching my butt."
No, I think it's supposed to be like a this is bullshit kind of thing.
Yeah, basically.
It's like my ass kind
yo,
of thing.
my butt. Yeah, but it doesn't. It's so weird. It doesn't even make sense.
I think someone wanted to write my ass, and then they're like, "You can't do that. This is a PG-13 title."
Is it?
So,
Let's talk about the rest of this chapter first before you make that claim. It's T for teen. But yeah, definitely.
Says,
yeah.
It's officially a PG-13 title.
So wait, you can't say ass in a PG-13 book?
I don't know. Maybe you have a limit. You can only have one fuck. And,
This is the beginning of the volume. Anyway.
That's what I mean. Maybe they wanted to save it for later.
Oh, maybe somebody else say my ass later. Anyway, it's just really funny. But also that it should say, "Yo, my butt," then what? Yeah. Make it clear. Anyway. It's weird. Meanwhile, anyway, in the room, Haru says to Yuki that they all came because Akito called them, but doesn't he already know? "I mean, the air in here might as well freeze," he says, and Yuki says the air might be frozen, but they're not. "I admit I was a little nervous. I thought that the curse breaking would make things awkward between us." "It's okay. I'll always love you," Haru says, and Yuki's like, thanks, but Rin is watching really intently, and of course we see her staring from the extra gloomy corner of the room. "All is well, Yuki," Ayame, who has suddenly arrived, reassures him. "I'll always watch over you with the fiercest intensity." And while Haru pats Rin's head in the gloom corner, Ayame continues, "Fret not, mon frere. Things will never be awkward between us. Our forebears left us with a wise proverb. There's nothing to fear if we all run the red light together." And Yuki's like, "That's not a proverb." And Ayame continues to talk about how his charismatic refinement will never fail. And Yuki's like, "I can't believe that's what you were getting at." Well, everyone else is like, except for Ritsu, who still admires Ayame's steadfast confidence. Kyo enters and Ayame sassily asks where he's been. This is only his second time at the main house, apparently, so everything's weird here, he says. This mansion combines a size and luxuriousness that is too much for the ultra-commoner Kionkichi to comprehend, but we forgive him for wandering around with reckless abandon to explore. How can you talk down to me when this is even your house, Kyo asks. But soon, though, the ponytailed maid who saved her in announces that Akito is ready, and she enters, much to the shock of everyone, wearing the kimono that Shigure gave her. She asks Satori where Shigure is, and he doesn't know. Could it be that you share my hobby, Akito-san? Ritsu asks, and Akito was like, absolutely not. She remembers Shigure saying, this is a gift. I guess you could call it a farewell present. And we see their conversation the other day. Akito looks terrified and scratches Shigure's face. She says, I hate you, over and over again, while he simply says, ow. I knew that you'd be the first to have just abandoned me. I despise you, Akito says. Who said I was abandoning you? Shigure says, holding her arm. She says that he said farewell. It's a farewell gift. You finally said goodbye to the person your father wanted you to be. Now you're turning into someone new, right? So this is a present to commemorate that. Congratulations. It's nice to meet the new you, and I look forward to seeing how you live from here on out, Shigure says. In the present, Akito sits in the middle of the floor in front of the juunishi. All of you are finally able to go back to being your true selves, so I will too, she says. I'll be going back to who I really am. You're free. It's taken a long time, and there was everything till now. Akito trails off, remembering the abuse that she had doled out on Hattori, Kana, Kisa, Yuki, Momiji, Rin, Kyo, and Kureno. She tries to apologize, but can't. Her lip quivers. She remembers her conversation with Shigure again, and he says, you made us suffer. Your only actions were cruel ones. It makes me wonder how on earth you can make up for that. Akito tells him to shut up. I'm honored. I didn't realize that I weighed that heavily on your mind, he says. It's not that, Akito says. You were the one that I was always the most afraid of. I always felt like you were furthest away. I could hold you back the least. You feared me the least. Whether there was a bond or not, you were the one who pushed me the furthest away. If I didn't stay fickle, I was afraid I might burst, Shigure says. There were times I thought I had you, but then you would flutter off and go to the others. And then adds with a sly smile, traitor. Akito argues, and he says, I'm cunning and childish. I don't like getting hurt. I hate losing. Once I've gotten hold of something, I never want to let it go, and I don't like sharing. He advances toward her with his hand outstretched, and she backs up against the wall. He says now's her chance to reject him. I think I've learned to compromise a little thanks to you, so I'll give you some time to get away, he says, taking his leave. But if you come near me one more time, you know what's going to happen. In the present, Akito thinks, you're so cruel. It's not fair. You make it seem like you never do anything wrong, Shigure. You're as childish as you said you are, and yet you look totally unbothered. Like you're fine even if you're all by yourself. It makes me want to get you to turn and look at me. Akito looks for him through the house and finds him reading on the porch. I want to swallow up your entire body, she thinks, into my cells, down to my bones, to penetrate deep, deep within, to spread you through me and saturate you with my scent until you can't breathe. Akito goes and sits beside him. This feeling, this desire, she thinks, is this how women feel? Everyone was surprised, she says to him. I think they had mixed feelings. I tried to apologize, but I couldn't. I didn't want to put it into words. I thought that would be like saying I'd done enough. I still want to live here with the Soma family. I think that there are things that I need to do. I want to protect them, Akito thinks, to defend their true freedom. Even like this, I'm still the head of the family, she says, and she says that she needs to talk to Ren. Let me get this straight. You want me to join you in that life? Shigure asks, and Akito asks if he's mad. A little, he says. Can you blame me? After all, I waited a long, long time for you to come back. He looks at her with an amorous smile. Are you laughing at my choice of words?
Laughing at how unsure you are of your choice of words.
I thought this was rated T for teen. I think, because sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I'm pretty sure, and then sometimes I'm like, I don't know how to describe. You're so beautiful. That look suits you, he says, and he caresses Akito's cheek. She thinks, I can feel a shiver, send goosebumps down my skin. It's every time he turns to look at me. I love you, he says, and she says, I love you. We see the two of them as kids and then kissing in the present. I love you, as long as you keep wanting me. That's the end of 132.
Dun-dun.
Is it a dun-dun-dun? Certainly something was revealed, but what?
Yeah.
It's up for debate.
Oh no, something sexy.
Something sexy. I was like, when did this become a josei when I was reading it? Anyway, chapter 133 opens at school. All the kiddos are freaking out because word on the street is that the orange-headed hottie Kyo is taken by Tohru Honda. Oh, you like my description of that? I'm sure about that. Tohru Honda and Mr. Finals because she was out sick, and everyone teased them when they found out. And we see what looks like one of Kyo's chums say, did you finally start going out? And Tohru blushes and Kyo's like, yeah, so? He came right out and said it. The boy came right out and said it. The boy was so afraid of girls the day he transferred here that he jumped out a window. He's grown into such a fine young man, they say. Did anyone else forget that he jumped out a window? Because I was like, oh yeah, he did do that. It's great. There's a lot of interruptions in the summary.
As far as they know, it's because he was so shy that he couldn't deal with talking to a girl instead of being afraid of transforming into an animal.
I mean, it's still partially true, though, because he was really shy. While Tohru blushes even deeper, they joke about needing to cook red rice, and Kyo is like, please don't. Meanwhile, in the present in the classroom, Tohru struggles to finish her final exam under the watchful eye of great teacher Mayuko. She hands in her final exam, and Mayuko asks how she thinks she did. Yes, I tried with all the power I can muster, Tohru says with swirly eyes, and Mayuko thinks it doesn't seem like much. Mayuko wishes her a good summer vacation, then asks if something happened at the Soma house recently. He seemed a little happy yesterday, she says, with a soft smile, and Toru's like, he, you mean Kyokun and Yuki-kun? And Maiko's like, oh yeah, that's totally who I meant. Anyway, bye. And Tohru is confused, but thinks that a lot did happen. Everyone knows about Akito's gender now, and she remembers discussing it with Kyo and Yuki at the table. Yuki says that it was kind of out of nowhere, and they were surprised that Tohru knew about it. She apologizes that she couldn't talk about it before. She asks if it was really such a shock, and Yuki says it's difficult to explain. There's been a lot to think about. Kyo says he realized that he'd been getting violent with a woman this whole time, but he's relieved. Tohru asks why, and he says, I'd just be in trouble if there was another guy who liked you. Yuki's like, pfft, and then they sass each other. Tohru says that she noticed the atmosphere around Kyo and Yuki is also gentler than it used to be. She asked Kyo why, and he said, he beat the crap out of me, knocked the biggest screw loose in my head. Don't hang out with that guy, he's a complete jerkwad. And he laughs with a big smile and says that he's kidding, and gently strokes Toru's cheek. In the present, she thinks that Kyo had started to smile more, that that's his true self. That's what attracts everyone to him. And that's why all this is a miracle. After taking her exam, she taps her way over to Kyo and saying, Kyo-kun, and then grabs his shirt. He's like, okay, what are you, a dog? She apologizes for keeping him waiting, and he says that it's fine. He was playing basketball with some kids. He says the kids who aren't going to college seem pretty relaxed, and Tohru, suddenly depressed, is like, that's right, I have to do my best and find a job. He starts to say, but then says to never mind, they'll talk about it later. Anyway, I know looking for a job is important and all, but summer break's just starting. Let's spend lots and lots and lots of time together, he says, and takes her hand. She's like, yes, and then says that Hana and Uo would like to join them on their first date, and he's like, not like I have a choice. They're basically your mommies. It's a miracle, Tohru thinks. Kyokun and I being together like this, I want to make the effort. I want this miracle to continue forever if I can, because holding hands like this and walking like this together is something that I can never take for granted. I have no regrets. At this point, I'm prepared for death at any time, Shishou says when Kyo and Tohru go to meet him later. They freak out and say, Tohru says, no, you mustn't say such things with Kurimitsu. She's right, that's not funny, he says. When you say it, it's not funny. Shishou laughs calmly, and then they're like, why are you smiling? Kurimitsu reminds him that if they get married and have a baby, then he'll have a grandchild. Just think of that, Grandpa. We're treated to a ghosty panel of Kyo and Tohru and Shishou contemplating... Is that Kurimitsu with the little question mark? Who's the fourth person?
I think it might be Rin.
Rin sneaking up in the corner?
Maybe the question mark is their hypothetical grandchild.
Maybe. It's the seventh homunculus. It's like that, like, who's that Pokemon?
His grandchild is Pride.
Good.
Fullmetal Alchemist crossover.
Yeah, obviously. Well, they already had, like, Kakeru's, like, something, in order for something to be learned, something must be exchanged.
Yes.
I think it's canon. I'll hang in there for many years to come, Shishou says with a new sound resolve, and I'll be eagerly waiting. Yes, I'll be waiting just as eagerly, Tohru says. This is stupid, by the way, Rin says, who suddenly appeared in the hallway beside them. Tohru calls after her, but she turns and leaves. Kyo asks what she's so mad about, and Shishou explains that not everyone is in the same circumstances as them right now. Tohru goes to find Rin in the hallway, and she sits crouched on the floor. How can he act like nothing happened, she says. He suffered so much, didn't he? And you, think of how badly you got hurt. Scars like that, they don't just disappear. If I had to choose to forgive Akito or not, I wouldn't forgive her. I can't forgive her. I'm not saying that she has to grovel in front of me or anything, and I don't want her to apologize either. Is it my fault? Did I do something wrong? How can everyone just accept things and move on? It doesn't matter what I do. The jumbled mess in my heart won't go away, Rin says as she starts to cry. Tohru joins Rin and tries to comfort her, and she thinks so much has happened. A lot of things have ended. After everything, there's still pain. A lot of it. And it can't just suddenly disappear like magic. Inside everyone's hearts there may still be pain, a pain they can't talk about. Tohru reassures her. Isuzu-san, you didn't do anything wrong. You were even hurt in my place. Thank you. Thank you, she says. Do you think Haru will be disappointed? Rin asks through her tears. I know I can be a real downer sometimes, and I wonder if he'll hate me. That would never happen, Tohru says. You don't know that. No, I don't not know, Tohru says. Then I'll just go to ask him to prove it to you. I'll go ask Hatsuharu-san right now. Ow! Tohru says as Rin punches her to keep her to stop. Don't you dare, you idiot, she says. Kyo, who has joined them in the hallway, wonders, are they playing?
I bet there's multiple scenes of people like being like, I guess they get along.
Yes. Yeah, Kunimitsu said that before too.
Yeah.
Wasn't that when she was like squishing Toru's forehead?
Yeah.
Tohru narrates, I think that they need time. Lots and lots of time when we transition to the main house. Akito's confronted again by that one maid. She says, I understand that you went to see that woman again today, though I heard that you couldn't have a decent conversation with her. It would be much faster to simply cut her out, although it's possible that you complicated things by deciding to stay here, she says. It must be nice to be young. You can change your ways of life so easily. You have the willpower and the physical energy for it. She turns and looks away, out into the garden. You know, I was also born with the Soma and raised with the Soma. It's my way of life. I don't know any other. But look at my age. I've built this life up over 40, 50, 60 years. It's too late to change. Well, Akito says, nobody can change everything, but you don't have to. Just a little is enough. She reaches out her hand to the maid. Maybe you need a hand to reach out to you, like me. The maid eyes her suspiciously, surprised, but then looks down dejectedly, and leaves. The narration continues, tomorrow or even the day after. To say everything would be fixed then would be a sad lie. For now, they're not there. Not everyone is lined up and smiling happily. It's still a far-off dream, but still, I want to take the years that it takes to thaw everyone. I want to work, and I won't give up. Shigure arrives and joins Akito, and she pulls him into a tight hug. She buries his face in his vest, his suit that he's wearing that he probably borrowed from Tori.
And Tori's like, burn that one too.
Rin stands and wipes her tears, and Toru continues to comfort her. Kyo looks over and thinks, maybe I'm in worse trouble than I thought. I've got guys and girls as competition. He looks over at her and smiles, and Toru smiles back, and we see the narration, just smile for me. I'll take that and be happy with it. And then the chapter closes on Haru entering the house, much to the shock of Rin, I think. That's the end of 133.
Woo.
Oh, I only fucked it up a little bit. It's fine.
It's okay. Like you said, you just had to get the last episode right.
Yes. Stick the landing. It's the most important part. Nobody remembers the things in the middle, right?
Nobody remembers the penultimate episode.
Let's chat about these chapters then.
Chat.
Yeah, a chat chit. Is there like a weird Cockney slang for chatting?
Probably.
I can't imagine what it would be, but I'm sure it would be great.
Probably something that rhymes with talk and be like, have a nice, I don't know.
Walk?
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, but it has to be like a jaunt, because it has to be another word for walk, because walk rhymes with talk. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd have to end with something that rhymes with talk, but it may not be that word that it gets shortened to.
That's correct. I guess.
We're experts at Cockney rhyming slang.
I'm very good at, can't you tell how Cockney slang I am? I actually minored in Cockney slang. I want everyone to know. Anyway, okay, good. Let's talk about another thing that we're experts in, which is Fruits Basket. Let's talk about Akito. Let's talk about how this became a seinen, or like a whatever, what did I say? A josei manga, briefly. I was like, what is happening in this chapter? Like, is this now a bodice buster? Like, what's going on? No, it wasn't really like that, but it was very...
They've always had the most, like, implications around them.
I mean, he straight up slept with
Yeah.
It stated that he slept with her and Ren.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, like, even early on, where we'd have all the the scene, like, before the beach when he's, like, pulling her onto his lap and stuff.
Climbing all over
You're
him.
like, oh.
Like, oh, I see.
Yeah.
It's true. But we never saw any of that from, like, kind of, like, Akito's perspective. So if this, like, inner monologue about how she feels about him.
Yeah.
This is probably the most kind of, like, detail we get about their relationship from her perspective, right? Yeah. I mean, there's no more about it, I guess, after this, other than a little minor stuff at the end, I think. But, like...
Yeah, I like how it, like, even as...
Yeah.
It's, like, her thinking about, like, how much she loves him, but it's still, like, really aggressive.
It's super aggressive. I'm glad I'm not the only one that thought that.
Yeah, like, I think it's fitting for them.
It's a really, like... I mean, it's, like, a legitimate relationship. It's just, yeah, it's super... Like, oh, Shigure always, like, he was fine with just being by himself, but I always wanted him to look at me, and I want to, like, absorb you into my bones and shit.
Yeah.
And it's, like, you know, penetrating. I was like, whoa, is this the word we want to say in this, like, PG-13, like... the metaphor sleeping is fine, but penetration is not. Yeah. It's too much.
But yeah, it's like a really like aggressive, possessive kind of.
They both feel the same
like,
way about each other, though.
Yeah,
they're fucking
they're
perfect
very,
for each other.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like it's very fitting for them. Like,
I think you said a long time ago in an episode they're perfect for each other.
Yeah.
And
it's like because no one else should have to deal with them.
I was thinking about this really deeply, and I was like, is this like a good? Can I say with confidence this is like what I think like a good relationship is? And I was like, I mean, there's like aspects to I think, you know, like a sexual relationship like, where you have these feelings, like it makes sense, but I don't know, man.
Yeah. I think it's
aggressive
like
for sure.
The best either of them could have, like being the kind of people they are. You know what I mean? Like it's like you know, the kind of like it's like it's kind of fucked up, but in a like way that works for them and wouldn't work with any other people that they were tried to be in a relationship with. So.
Didn't work with Kureno.
Yeah.
Although she wasn't really trying to be in a relationship with him. I mean, she was just trying to use him to get back at Shigure, I guess.
Yeah.
As her emotional support, Kureno.
Yeah. But yeah, that's like a good example because like he was too like passive and accommodating as a human being to deal with that kind of aggressive possessiveness like in
He's like, oh,
in a semi-healthy way. Like
you want me to penetrate you to your bones? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. I guess.
Yeah.
Did you break up with Shigure? And she's like, what's it to you?
Yeah. And he's just like, okay.
Oh, okay. So,
I'll just be here, I guess. Whenever you want.
Yeah. Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah. Kureno is the saddest bird.
I said he's not boring,
he's
he's sad. Yeah. I said it before and I'll say it again. But it's interesting. I like how Akito says. So we talked briefly last time about how Akito is sort of like looking at examining her own identity and stuff like that. And I think it's interesting that we get her introspection around that too. She's like, is this how women feel? Like, is this how I'm how, you know, like, is this, I mean, it's more, I was about to say, is this how women are supposed to feel? But it's not really like that. It's just.
Yeah, I feel like it's like, like part of the reason it's like so aggressive is like because she's tried to like interpret like normal sexual feelings through like what she thinks she's supposed to be and feel like and stuff. So that's where she's like,
true.
oh, maybe this is just like normal sexual desire that people feel.
Yeah, which I would say is true. I guess, but it's
but it's like funneled through, you know, years of fucked upness.
Yes, pretty much. And also years of like him basically like he's like, oh, I had to play it cool or I would explode, but it's like she's so insecure. It's like we talked about if they have like I mean, I don't want to go out and say do they have a healthy relationship or not, but like we talked about how their dynamic is so, I don't know, unconventional, where it's like she's like, oh yeah, I really love you and whatever, and then he's like, yeah, I really love you too, except like we're both gonna just play it super cool, or like Akito's like, I'm gonna be mad, and he's like, well, I'm gonna leave, and it's like, they're not I don't think that his behavior, someone once wrote in like, do you think that he's doing all this because like he's trying to, you know, like help her I guess form new I don't know, whatever, I'm paraphrasing what the person said, but it's like, do you think that he does this stuff to help her, essentially? And my opinion is kind of like, no, I don't think so. Like, I think he does it because that's how he feels, where he's, you know, I don't know, like he's tired of dealing with her acting in this way, I guess.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, I want more attention, and he doesn't do it.
I think it's like exactly like he says. He says like, I'm childish and like Like, I think they're both that way. Like,
yeah, for sure.
They're both, like, approaching this in a very, like, childish way, at least have been for years. And this is them, like, maybe starting to get better because they're at least being, like, honest with each other.
He did, yeah. Yeah, for sure. And he did do, I would like to say that I noted his genuinely nice gesture, which Akito, last time I was like, I said, oh, Akito looks touched by him giving her the gift. And then what I didn't realize was that she's more touched in like a angry and scared way rather than a happy way, which is what it looked like briefly for a second in the scene where it cuts off. And then she like scratches his face in this one. It's like she doesn't trust him so much. And I don't know, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he was like, I'm looking forward to seeing who you become, which is a nice sentiment, I think.
Yeah.
And an accepting one.
And I like that scene as, like, we talked a little bit last time about how, like, you know, like, Akito's actively trying to be better, but we like that she's, like, not instantly, like, okay, I'm a good person now. It's like she's still, you know, really, like, impulsive and aggressive.
Totally.
And jealous and, you know, has all these, you know, years of fucked up behavior that she's, you know, trying to change, but that's not going to be instant. And so, like, you have that, her, like, reacting immediately with that, like, I hate you, like.
Yeah. You said just a second ago that Akito is impulsive, or childish. Akito's childish, which I think is true, because, like, we had seen evidence of nobody ever really disciplined her, and she wasn't exposed to a lot of people, so she doesn't really know how to, like, react to people. Like, I think it's a normal human emotion to be jealous and, like, scared. But, like, the way that she acts on those feelings is the thing that's kind of fucked, because she hasn't had anybody to guide her through those feelings.
Yeah, she didn't learn
before.
how to cope with them in a healthy way.
Yeah, exactly.
Like most people do when they, you know,
theoretically people do
live through their adolescence and, you know, in the society that we live in.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, she's so isolated that she immediately, if something isn't the way that she not, like, wants it to be, but, like, expects it to be, even, because she's... Her expectation is that he's like, oh, bye, farewell. And then she's like, oh, you're definitely leaving me. And he's like, that's not what I meant at all. Can you just, like, chill? So. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I was like, oh, boy, was I wrong about that last time we talked about it.
Yeah. To be fair, it could be, like, that could have been, like, her reaction, like, after he explained everything.
That's true.
From the last chapter.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows when that little chunk, that one panel is supposed to be from. Maybe it's possible. You're right. Because I don't remember. I don't have the other book with me, but I think it's... And we're in a new volume now, so... I think it's, It could have been, like, after other stuff happened. Like, it could have been, like, another flashback to that scene. But to me, it seemed like... What I remember is that it's, like, the moment right before she scratches his face. So it has this sort of, like, ambiguous expression.
Yeah.
I feel like ambiguous is my word of the day. I think I said it, like, at least 5 times in this. This recording and the last one. They definitely seem to at least be on the same page with each other now. Yeah. So I guess that's good. And I think Akito's doing a bunch of stuff. Oh, the one thing that bothered me is, I remember now what I was about to say, which is that, so Akito goes to try to apologize to the juunishi, and fucking Shigure isn't there. And it's like, this is someone that she supposedly, like, likes and trusts, and then he's like, oh, I'm not going to go to this, like, meeting with everybody? Like, what the fuck? See? Not a good person. I mean, he's just, like, casually reading, and then she has to go and find him. Anyway, whatever. Just felt like it wasn't very supportive. That's a personal opinion, I think. But
I think it's following off of his thing at the end of their earlier scene where he says, like, I'll give you time to get away, and if you come to me. So I think he was like, I will just make myself scarce until she comes to me or doesn't.
It's possible.
Yeah, I think that's what he was, like, going for with that.
Yeah, again, very healthy. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
He's like, I want you to come to me. And she's like, I want you to notice me. It's like... So basically the summary of their relationship.
Yeah. It's kind of, like, it is kind of, like, in a, you know, screwed up way that you can see from their perspective, it is kind of a nice gesture.
It is. He's like, I'll give you the time to make your decision about us.
Here's your chance to completely leave all this behind. I will make no fuss about it if that's what you do. Like,
I definitely don't disagree with you on that. Yeah. I think that was also, like, the way that he does it is weird. Like, the way that he does it is like, anyway, bye. Let me know if you want to go out with me or whatever.
Yeah. like leaves her notes, is like, do you like me? Check yes or no.
Hattori comes in and he's like, Shigure asked me to give you this.
Yeah.
And she's like, fuck him. And then like checks off the like yes or no, I don't know, maybe she writes something else.
Checks off both.
Yeah, and then gives it back to him and she's like, you tell him to go fuck himself. And then like sends Hattori out. Actually, it would have to be Kureno, although he's not there, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It would have been Kureno in the past.
He's just like okay. Yeah. So anyway, so I think the end resolution was okay, and I think he demonstrated that he cares about how she's, and recognizes that she's changing and is supportive of that, and like so, and that's why he brought her the kimono, and that's why, you know, he gave her space to decide what she wanted to do about their relationship, and like what she wants to do about the family and stuff like that. So that's fine, but
yeah,
he's still kind of being an asshole about it. So yeah, whatever.
Well, that's just who they are, both of them. Like,
yeah, she's always gonna be a little like jealous, maybe, probably, or
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I would classify the ending here as like they don't have a healthy relationship, but for the first time they have a chance of getting there. So,
well, based on like the outcome of another, it seems like they were able to have a good relationship. Yeah. They have,
like I said, it's I think the best either of them could do with anyone. So
this whole like 2 chapters I think has the kind of the themes that, or like the message in them is like nothing can happen overnight. You know, things aren't changing quickly, but they're changing, so they're trying.
Yeah.
And then we have like Tohru saying stuff like, you know, I want to work at this relationship. It's something that I want to have going forward. So I feel like that's also, I mean, we have Akito saying like, I want you, I like clearly have this desire for you. So it's a little bit of a different expression, but I think they're both, you can see that they're want to work for the relationship that they have, I guess.
Yeah.
Could have. You know, Shigure is my favorite. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to everyone who loves him, okay? I do love him as a character, but
yeah.
He's an a-hole. And then Akito is like, Akito, I think in this, I don't think there's really anything wrong, except she has like really unrealistic expectations of what, you know, the way that he'll act and stuff. So But I thought it was interesting how she went and like sat down and talked to him, and she was like, and I said this and I did this and I apologized and whatever, and he just kind of listened to her and was supportive, it seemed. So and then he comforted her after the maid was sassy.
Yeah.
Or she forced him to comfort her. She was like, I
Well, it's cute because like she had her hand out like to the maid, and then like she walked away and she like started to lower her hand, and then like Shigure came and took her hand. So it's cute.
It was nice.
Yeah.
It was good. He can be nice, okay? Like, he can. It was like his dad Gure self, although, I mean, you know, whatever. Not really dad in this case. His nice Gure self. We should talk about Akito and the Juunishi. Well, first of all, I love seeing everybody again. So Yame comes in. This is the scene with Akito and the Juunishi, and so Yame is like doing his whole spiel, and then Ritsu is like still all impressed with him, and
yeah. I love Ayame's like, I'll always watch over you, and Yuki's like, that's a big climb for someone who just walked in.
Yes. Yuki's complete sass in this scene was amazing.
Yeah.
On multiple levels.
Yeah, like Yuki's like obviously like at this point has become accustomed to like handling Ayame, because he's just like totally like, you know, used to like exhaust him and stuff,
yes.
And now he's just like, Well,
also he's just like, that's how he handles everybody. It's just like, well, I've got a sassy comment for you.
Yeah.
That's like simultaneously not that intense, but it's gonna crush you.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that Kyo, well, this isn't about Akito, but I thought it was interesting Kyo has never really been to the main house before. He said he's been there like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And then of course Yama's asked him about it, which was hilarious. But
yeah, it's kind of cute and sad that he's just like wandering around, kind of like taking it in.
But he also said it was weird, which was kind of interesting. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, it probably would be weird if you'd never, you know, like been there as a child. It's probably super dark and ominous. I mean, but it probably doesn't have a good vibe, I would guess. Yeah. Plus there's a bunch of weird maids fighting, and then there's like Ren, and there's like
also like Ayame telling him to steal some slippers as a souvenir.
Oh yeah, I had to cut that out of my dialogue, I apologize. Yes, a very important thing. He's like, no.
Yeah. He's like, that's illegal.
Also, like how he's just like, I like how you can find a way to insult me even though this isn't even your house.
Yeah.
Which he constantly says. That's also what he says at Shigure's, I think, or like similar stuff when Ayame's there, which is funny. But yeah, then there's the scene with Akito. So first of all, the other thing that I noticed was that it's the nice maid that comes in with Akito, which I didn't remember from before. I was like, yay, she's back.
Yeah.
Or she is still here, not fired.
Yeah, she didn't get fired.
That's nice. Maybe she's like Akito's, main number one maid now instead of the old maid, which is a nice thought.
Yeah, I think it's nice that she's come back a few times. Like, she was also the one who, like, found Kureno when he was bleeding.
Yes, exactly. And then she saved Rin, as I think I said in my description of her. She was the one who let Kureno have the key for the cat's room, and then, found Kureno when he was bleeding and called for help.
Yep.
And then introduced, or like whatever, said, brought Akito to the room. I like to headcanon that she helped her get ready too, because I'm sure you need help to put the kimono on and stuff.
She's probably like, how this?
Well, I don't think you can tie them yourself and stuff. I don't know. I don't know that much about kimono.
But just in general, she's probably like, how do I wear this?
Yes. I mean, I certainly would be.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sure, like, structurally it's not that different than the one that she was wearing before, except for all the, like, extra crap, like the bow and, the way you tie it and stuff. And she also did her hair up, and I'm sure she got help with that, too. The kimono itself is interesting, too. It looks like a furisode, like the long-sleeved ones. So I did briefly Google this to remind myself to recheck my knowledge, because I'm not, I don't know. There's a lot to know about kimono, and I don't know that much about it.
Yeah.
Just to throw that out there, but it looks like the one that she's wearing in that scene where she opens the package is, like, a little bit less intense, and this one looks like it's, like, more formal and fancy. I think that's what the implication is supposed to be. It's hard to tell because, there's no, like, silky texture in the manga, but...
Yeah. It kind of feels like it was, like a last-minute decision to go with the one Shigure gave her.
It does look like she was, like, sitting there, like, the one that she's wearing before is not fancy. Like, it looks like one that it's not like the one that she normally wears.
Yeah.
Like, just around.
Her lounge kimono.
Yeah. Well, but honestly, though, like, it looks like more fancy than that. It has, like, a extra, like, cord around the obi part. So it doesn't look like one you would just lounge around in. But the one, maybe it was. Maybe she knew what was in the box. Maybe it wasn't the first time she opened it. Maybe she'd opened it before and then decided to wear it for this meeting. But then he wasn't even there to see it, so... Okay, I'm done. I swear. The thing that I also noticed in that scene is she tried to apologize, and she, like, couldn't. Like, her lip, you see her lip, like, quivering. Like, it's so much to admit to hurting so many people. She remembers all of them. And then when I was reading the summary just now, I was like, wow, that is a long list of people.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm still saying it when I was reading it. She seems to be showing some remorse for all the things that she's done. And then her like, kind of speech that she gives beforehand is like, I want you all to, like, you can be, you're returning to your true selves, and so I am too, and stuff like that. Which I thought was also a nice sentiment.
Yeah. And she has the thought where she says, like, I want to protect them.
Yeah. I also liked that. I noticed that.
No, she says, like, there's things she needs to do because she's still the head of the family, which makes it feel like she's actually trying to, like actually take responsibility that she should have.
And not just let the maids boss her around anymore. Yeah. And the old guard.
Where she's taken, instead of, like, I'm the head of the family, so I can do what I want, she's like, I'm the head of the family, so I need to protect the rest of the family. Like,
yeah, protect the vulnerable ones in the family.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting step for Akito. I feel like in the last couple chapters we learned some things about the family that were really just kept till the end. Like, you get to see, I think we are seeing how much of a struggle it is for her to make changes in the family, that, it's even more of this, like, we talked also before about how Akito, you think that kind of like the villain in the beginning of this is Akito, like Akito's pulling the strings, but really it's like the family at large that's kind of keeping things the way that they are and stuff. So,
yeah.
she recognizes with her power comes responsibility, I guess.
Yes.
Nice. But it's nice to see her, like, take ownership of her role. She's taking ownership of her personal identity and her role within the family.
Yeah.
Also at the meeting, you have, like, there's the scene with Kyo and Kagura and Momiji, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
His blackmail for later.
I love how serious he looks when he's saying it.
Yes. He's like, you're awful. And then Kagura's like, awful. Good.
Yeah. He's got a pretty nice phone for the time period.
Let me see what it looks like.
It's like a little smartphone looking thing.
Whoa.
It's not quite there, but it's like, one of those
it's a
skinny, those like skinnier ones that were starting to come out.
A semi-smartphone. Oh, wait, let me see.
Yeah. It's like, before smartphones became a thing, they were getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And now they keep getting bigger.
And bigger and bigger. Well, everybody was like, I actually need to have a very large screen for the computer in my pocket.
Yeah. Now they're, what are they called? Phablets.
A phablet. That's my favorite thing to say, at least, because I think it's hilarious and stupid.
The first time I saw someone actually talking on one of those things, I was like, this looks so stupid.
I mean, I've seen people talk on, like, iPads, which is like, it's like holding a laptop up to your face.
Yeah.
Seems really uncomfortable. You can see that there's a little camera in the phone.
Yeah. It's like a kid who, like, is pretending to answer the phone with, like, whatever there is near there. It's like, hello?
Hello?
You're like, that's not a phone, silly child.
The best is, like, I haven't seen people do it in a while because now everybody just, like, uses their headphones that come with their phone. But it used to be, like, when Bluetooth headphones were really popular and people would just be like, hello, and you'd be like, oh, hi. And they'd be like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you're not talking to me. Okay. I feel like an idiot now, except who's the idiot here? Who?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does look like a fancy phone. It's a high-quality photo. Not just, like, a stupid video for Kakeru or whatever.
High-quality photo for the evidence.
He shows it to Tohru, and she's like, you can take photos with these things?
Yeah.
Like, it's called a DVD.
Yeah. I also love how Hiro looks like the most shocked at Akito. Like, everyone looks a little shocked, but Hiro's got this, like, super wide-eyed expression.
I think the thing about Hiro is, like, he's one of those, like, if he had, like, one of those, the, like, acronym, what are they called? Enneagram personality types. His last letter would be, like, a J. Like, he's, like, the judgy. It's, like, everything's, like, there's, like, a right and a wrong and whatever, and so he's just, like, this is blowing my whole perspective on life, Like, he also was sassy about Ritsu, too, which I took note of, and I was like, you're an asshole child. I also loved Haru patting Rin staring at him and Yuki, and then she's patting her head in the background, which was cute. The next chapter is just the, like, Kyo and Tohru. I love all the kids freaking out. We talked about it during my summary. I know we stopped and talked about it, but they're like, wow, he's the boy who jumped out of a window because he's scared of girls. Finally with a girl.
I felt like the whole class is like, we should celebrate.
Yes.
Great.
Earlier,
like, please stop.
Earlier, Yuki was like, does it make you uncomfortable that everyone knows about your relationship? I like how they all know and they're all excited. It's cute. Their class is really adorable. We talked about this before, about how they all get along. And also, I was just thinking, like, oh yeah, they all know about that because they were all in the same class, like, 2 years ago. And so they've all been stuck with each other in the same, you can never escape.
Yeah, they've probably been, like, watching all this drama unfold, like, from the background.
Texting each other under their desks, and they're like, dude, he's looking at her, dude. In fact, the whole opening of the chapter is just, like, the girl, this other student in their class, like, narrating about them.
Yeah.
The girl, so, yeah. Hot goss in the high school.
Yeah, recently they were probably like, mass update, she's in the hospital?
I got sent a fast text about this.
Yeah.
God.
Stand by for updates.
Scott Pilgrim reference. I did it. 1 per episode. They have a whole class thread without them and Yuki that's like, dudes.
Yeah. Yuki gets invited in at the end.
Yeah. And he's like, fuck that guy. And they're like, totally.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, hey, this guy's not that bad. But anyway, I do also love the, like, sweet Mayuko being like, oh, he was, like, a little happy. And then Toru's like, oh, you mean Yuki and Kyo? She's like, no, or yes, I meant them.
Yeah.
Anyway, later.
Like, okay, bye.
Yeah. Have a good life or whatever. She's just like, be safe walking home or whatever, which is cute. But
yeah.
it just pieces out. I'm sure that if Tohru knew about their relationship, she'd be like, "That's amazing, so great. Midori's-san is really nice." Ah.
Yeah.
Well, so then they talk about, getting ready for the future or whatever, and Tohru has her inner monologue. They also go to Shishou's, and Shishou is like, "I could die happy now," or whatever. Yeah. And then
I love how horrified Kunimitsu and Tohru are.
It's always Kunimitsu and Tohru. It's never Kyoko. It's just like, whatever. He's just being dramatic.
Kyo's just like, come on.
Yeah. But then Kunimitsu reminds him of the possibility of grandchildren, and he's like, never mind. I have something to live
he's
for.
like, I'll be around for years.
And then, of course, we have the important scene with Rin at the end, which I kind of already talked about a little bit, about how, like, everybody's changing, and she's sort of, like, upset about, I don't know, she's upset with herself for how she feels about not being able to let go and not of the things that upset her, that Akito did to her, which is totally legitimate.
Yeah.
Completely legitimate.
Yeah, it's another, like, nice detail, like, on, like, Akito's, like, quote-unquote redemption arc. It's like she's not instantly forgiven by everybody. No. It's like even the ones who are like, I guess this is fine, are, you can tell they're kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, like they're not, like, 100% on board the Akito train. But, like, it's nice that, like, Rin, who, had some of the worst abuses.
For sure.
At Akito's hands. Not to mention the abuse she suffered beforehand, that would make her particularly,
Yes.
emotionally fragile around that subject. Like, she's just like, no, I don't forgive Akito.
Yeah.
But I also think it's think it's pretty realistic that she might, like, feel, like, guilty over that, even though she has no reason to be.
Yeah, because she's like, everybody else is happy, maybe I should be happy about this too, which is also
kind of a, like, what's wrong with me kind of thing. Like,
and she's like, and says as such.
Like it kind of, it makes sense from, like, her point of view. It's like, is this another way I'm broken, kind of?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's fine. You don't have to be happy about it.
It's a normal human emotion.
Yeah, you can still be sad. It's okay.
You're still allowed to feel those.
Yeah, you're still allowed to feel those. You don't have to just, like, be happy all the time. I think it's just, like, I guess, like, for her situation hasn't changed. Like, she's still with the person. There was nothing that was stopping her, well, other than the threat of Akito, I guess, but it's not like, I don't know. There was nothing that was really stopping her from being with the person that she wanted to be with. Kyo and Tohru and, like, Yuki, they can now be with people that they want to be with without any, like, pressure of being confined or whatever. Like, so their situation is completely different. Like, the world is open to them. She's still in the same situation. Just, being free from the curse or not doesn't really matter to her.
Yeah, and the others are also kind of, like, further along their, like, recovery path.
Yeah, well, they weren't as, I don't know, not quite. I'm not gonna say, I don't know, is it comparable? They weren't as abused. Maybe, like, Yuki, but, like, she was the one who got locked up in the room and almost died. So, and got pushed out a window and a bunch of other shit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but it's like, I think, like, in addition to that, it's just like we've seen, like, Yuki and Kyo, like, like, recover and become more aware of their world and who they are and able to, like, kind of move past the stuff they've suffered, whereas, like, we don't even see Rin until, like, halfway through the series.
Yeah.
And it takes her a while to, like, form the bond with Tohru that helps her, like, start to kind of get past this, in addition to her relationship with Haru. So, she's still
that's true,
early in that process. In the healing process.
That's true. I mean, also, it's probably just a function of story time too, but it's nice that she can, like, Takai can also use her as a character to, like, show that it's okay to not be okay with everything all of a sudden, right? So
yeah, you don't have to forgive the people who abused you.
No,
you just have to, get yourself into a healthy situation.
Because that is kind of like the overwhelming. You could interpret that as, like, the overwhelming message here in these chapters is, like, yeah, like, Akito did she did a bunch of bad stuff, but she's, like, apologizing for it now, so it's good. But I think if we look at this sort of, like, from a meta approach, you could say, like, that's not true, and I want to use Rin to show that. So
yeah, I think the use of Rin, and also, like, Akito herself being like, I couldn't apologize because that would make it feel like I thought I'd done enough. Like,
it's an interesting thing to say too, and a wise thing to say, I think.
Yeah,
something that I didn't really pick up on.
Yeah, because that makes it, like, from her end, it makes it feel like like she wants to continue to try and be a better person, not just be like, I realized I did fucked up shit and I'm sorry, and then like go on with her life. It's like she seems like she wants to continue to try to make amends.
Yeah, to try to, and like the way that she makes amends is to try to protect them and also to like dismantle the things that enabled this to happen in the first place and stuff like that. It's a more action oriented approach instead of just saying, instead of just apologizing. Although I think apology would probably mean something, but not to her, or it's not the way that she wants to do things. I feel like we've seen that in her character too. Like it's not like she went to tell Kyo, was like, I'm gonna destroy the cat's room. She was just like, it's done. And then when she saw him, she was like, I don't want to fucking repeat myself. Yeah. She's like, did I fucking stutter? Like, like she wasn't doing it to like pander to him or something, like to make some kind of apology to him. She did it because it was what was right.
Yeah.
So,
like it's in that kind of like there's a perspective on the like apologize to your victims thing where it's like then you're like putting the expectation on them to forgive you, which like there's some debate over that. I would say it probably depends on the person and the situation, but like I think there's something to that where it's like it's like I need to apologize to you to make myself feel better.
Yeah.
And now you are forced to deal with that apology in some way. Like,
yeah, it does like sort of put. I find that interesting, kind of like outside of Urba, where people are like, I want them to apologize for doing this thing, and it's like, why? Like, wouldn't it be better if like, the thing just didn't happen again in the future? Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people seem to want that for closure, but I guess it depends. So from Akito's perspective, it just doesn't seem like it's enough to provide any kind of closure. And like I don't, and like maybe she feels like she can't provide any kind of something that's going to be meaningful to the juunishi.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and we even kind of get that perspective from Rin too, where she says like, I don't want her to apologize or grovel in front of me. I just she's
like, I just
can't right now.
And it's like, it's like, I don't expect that. I'm not ready to, accept that she's trying to make amends, or like not even that. It's just like, I'm not ready to move on from. I still have all this pain that I can't give up yet. So, yes, an interesting chapter.
Yeah.
I don't have that much else to say about them.
Like the main house stuff, like the maid and Ren.
Oh yeah, sorry, I totally forgot about that. We should definitely do that. Let's talk about the maid first.
Yeah.
Well, with Ren, didn't they just say like Akito went to talk to her? Like it doesn't really say what happened. It's just you couldn't have a conversation with her.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting that like Akito feels like she has to like try and have like a good dialogue with Ren in this situation. And also like where the maid's like saying like it'd be easier if you just like chased her off, but you've like made things difficult by keeping her here and staying here yourself, which kind of builds on that whole like politics thing from earlier chapters where there's like Ren supporters and stuff.
Yeah, I know, it's very weird.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of another interesting look at the the politics of the main house.
For sure. And then the scene with the same maid, the old maid, is Akito tries to reach out her hand to her and she says a lot of stuff like, oh, I've been doing this for so long, I can't change, whatever. And Akito's like, maybe you just need someone to reach out a hand like someone did for me. And the maid doesn't take her hand. And she looks really sad when she kind of like gives up on that.
Yeah, like it's kind of like a resigned look rather than like being like angry
or like scoffing
in any way. Yeah,
it's like
it's kind of like I wish I could kind of.
Yeah, it seems kind of dejected rather than like bah,
Yeah.
Rather than it being like ridiculous. Yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of the only.
Is this the maid's last hurrah? I asked you like 3 times every episode.
Yes, I'm pretty sure this is the maid's last hurrah. Yeah. But yeah, it's like the only like kind of sympathetic look we get at the maid.
That's true.
Like,
yeah, I mean, it is.
We get the idea that like we've talked about, we're like, oh, Akita's not really the villain. She's as much, tangled up in all this family manipulation as anyone, and you kind of get the idea that
the maid might be.
The maid kind of came from that too, because she says she's been in the family like her whole life, which has been like upwards of 60 years.
According to this, yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's hard to shake.
Yeah, for sure.
Been living the same way for
your whole
that
life.
long.
Plus, like, if she says, like, oh, I was born and raised in the family, so she doesn't know any other way either. Like, it's kind of like Akito. Like, you know, just thinking and having these, like, as if this debate, you know, of who's running the family and stuff is, like, the most important thing, where it's like, dude, we're, like, locking people up. Like,
yeah.
You know? The maid, I guess I don't see her as, like, unsympathetic, but she's definitely one of the least sympathetic characters, I guess you could say. It's like her and, like, Kyo's dad. But
yeah,
it does really, he never gets any redemption, but but this is something that's, it does, make her a little bit more sympathetic than maybe she would have been otherwise. Because last time we saw her, she was still being like, why are you doing all this? Like, what the F?
Yeah. It's like, I liked you better when you were locking people up.
I liked you better when you weren't questioning if what you're doing is right or wrong. I liked you better when you were listening to everything that I told you.
But yeah, it's something I appreciate about this series is like how you get those glimpses of like even the kind of adversarial perspectives.
For sure. Like, you don't, like, we get, it's interesting how we get, like, Rin's perspective, like, I'm not ready to accept this change because I'm hurt, and then you have, like, the maid's kind of situation, like, I'm not ready to accept this change because I feel like I can't, like, I feel like I've always lived this way and I don't know how to live any other way. So they have a similar, like, the outcome is similar, but their motivation is different. So we get to look at what's happening from a bunch of different perspectives of people who are ready to kind of accept. And even, like, we get a little bit of Yuki and Kyo's too, where they're just like, well, I felt like this, and, like, I thought it was shocking because of this. So yeah, or, like, you know, whatever. I think that the change is shocking because of this and stuff. It's good. This series does do generally a good job overall at showing different perspectives on a variety of issues and problems. I think that's something that when I read this as a younger person helped me to think about things from different perspectives, because when you're young, I think you only really think about things from your experience.
Yeah.
And so it was something that I feel like I actually learned from, or, like, partially from this series. It had a big impact on me in that way when I read it the first time as, like, a preteen. So specifically in that way. So it was interesting to get to see, even at the end, we're still seeing all these different perspectives in different life situations. Yeah, I think that's important.
Definitely.
Well, that's good. Do you have any other things to say about these chapters?
Not really.
Okay. I think that I have a couple little spoilers.
Okay.
So next time we're going to talk about the rest of the chapters, 134 to 136.
I think we're talking about the end.
The end. And then we'll talk about the end after that.
Yes. Beyond the end.
Okay. Well, thank you all for listening. If you're not sticking around for spoilers, if you are sticking around for spoilers, we have a little bit to discuss in a second. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Sorry, I fucked it up again. I'm sorry. Oh, hi. We're about to talk about spoilers. Sorry, I need to stick with the format. I know we only have like 2 episodes left. I can't change it up now. So I noticed one little tiny thing, which is like Tohru is like, oh, just walking and holding hands like this is great. And it's a little tiny spoiler for the like flash forward at the end where they're like, oh, they're just walking together again. Grandma and Grandpa are like walking together again. I thought it was cute. That was something that I noticed. I mean, of course, they end up going on the date with Uo and Hana, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
The other things that are coming are like the Kyoko Katsuya, like what Kyoko was thinking while she was dying.
Yeah.
Which we did mention before. I remember, because that's still not resolved. There's still things that aren't resolved. How can this be? Oh, it was Kyo. He's like, oh, he was gonna talk to her about like moving away with him, but then he doesn't talk about it when they're leaving school. So they'll talk about that in our next episode.
Yeah, it's mostly just like, look, everyone's happy scenes.
Everybody has how their goodbye feels.
Yuki finally says Tohru's fucking name.
Oh yeah, that's kind of a big deal. I forgot about that. I wonder when the first time was that somebody brought that up. They're just like, you could just call her by her first name. I don't know if it was Haru. He says it in the beach arc really prominently.
Yeah, he said it,
But he probably said it earlier on, too. When they met, maybe?
Maybe, I don't remember.
Like when we met him? I forget. He's definitely said it from quite early on.
Yeah. But I like how, like, that one time he says it where he's like, is it because it's been too long and you're embarrassed now? And he's like, shut up.
That was, wasn't that when he did the thing, like, fucked up the classroom and got in trouble?
Yeah, I think it might have been.
And goes and visits him, and he's like, you should call her Tohru too. And he's like, no, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good scene with Yuki and Tohru. It's very touching.
Mm-hmm.
We joke, but it's good.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's interesting that at the very beginning of the story, it's them greeting, like almost right at the very beginning, right? Maybe a couple pages in. And then it ends with kind of, the main part of the story ends with them saying goodbye, or like having this conversation as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of a nice bookend.
Mm-hmm. Good old Yuki.
And, like saying hello and saying goodbye.
Yeah. That's true, actually, because that's when they're leaving the house, too, so.
Yeah.
Oh. Who's gonna cry next episode? Anybody? Meh. Is Bobby gonna cry?
Oh, he's like, I'm gonna cry.
He's like, I can't take it. I cry every time he says Tohru. Good. I mean, that's what we'll talk about next time, but then we'll talk about everything one more time.
Yep.
And then we'll talk about the manga. I mean, we'll talk about the anime, sorry. We can talk about the manga again, I guess.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, it's ending. I don't know. But it's like, yo, haven't you read this like 50 times in the last like 10 years? I mean, I have. So. Won't it just be the same? Won't we just listen to it again and reread it again like we do? I'm wistfully looking up at the top of the closet.
Yeah. So you can go back to episode 1 and start all over again.
If you can stand it, yes.
It's not that bad. I've heard way
I know.
worse.
You said that last time, but... Well, the good news is, like, next time we start our next podcast, we'll already have all of this knowledge, so we won't have any excuses for fuck-ups anymore.
At least not technical ones.
Yeah. Okay, good. I don't have any other things to say. So next time we'll talk about the rest of the series. Thank y'all for listening, and we'll see you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See, I did a good cue this time. It was a good.
Good job.
Perfect.
I picked it right up.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. It's easy when you get the right cue. But I look at my age. Oh, that
Here's
one I heard.
Ones. Yep.
I built this life up over 40. Ben said the Animal Crossing update is
I
live.
was just looking at that.
Cannot.
Time to swim.
Swim like you've never swum before.
It's like, I don't want to swim with that giant sunfish.
Can you grab him out of the sea like in Minecraft?
Use him as like a surfboard.
No, you can just like ride the sunfish.
Yeah.
And surf around like in Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, now that you mention it, that does seem unethical. I mean...
I was trying to remember the surf music, but all I can think of was the bicycle music.
Oh, the surf music goes do 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 do.
Yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm.